Hello, everyone. Daniel Forouzan with the Schmoozin with Forouzan podcast. Very excited for today's panel. You might notice there's more people on the screen than usual. The reason for that is I was so engrossed by the podcast that I had with Mariana on NFTs that frankly, I just wanted to learn more. So we put together really a panel here of people who have various experience and understanding of NFTs. And I'm hoping through this podcast, we'll all get a much better understanding of what on God's earth these things are, where we see like these pictures of apes or whatever it is, or pictures of Godzilla that are earning all this money online. Let's try to figure that out, both from a legal and generally informative standpoint. So thank you guys for tuning in. Typically, I introduce the presenters. We have so many presenters. I thought I'd let you guys just introduce yourself. Mariana, why don't we start with you?
Sure. Thank you, Daniel. I'm Mariana Noli. I run a small intellectual property law practice in San Diego, California. And I'm very pleased to be part of this podcast. We had a lot of questions after you and I talked about this. And I work with Ian and his team. And I thought he would be the perfect person to answer all those questions. And I've known Jose for a decade almost, and he's an expert of intellectual property in Latin America, Colombia, and he will give a perspective on Latin America, and Mexico, Costa Rica, and how is the legislation advancing. We know there are a lot of questions to be answered to this day.
Okay, wonderful. Ian, why don't you introduce yourself?
Thanks, Daniel. My name is Ian LeWinter, and I'm the president of a company called Ingredient X. And Ingredient X is the founder of an offshore blockchain platform called Filmio. And Filmio is the filmmaking industry DAO. It's a project we've been working on for almost 7 years. And we originally set out to disintermediate Hollywood or move Hollywood to the blockchain. And NFTs specifically have played a very interesting role, not only in our business life, but in my personal life. I'll stop there for an introduction, and then we can get into the conversation afterwards.
I heard offshore blockchain. Okay, we're in the right place, because that's like, what is an offshore block? We'll get to that. Jose, please introduce yourself, my friend.
Well, thanks, Daniel. I'm José Herrera. I'm from Herrera Díaz Abogados, a law firm here in Colombia. We are specialized in media and entertainment law and intellectual property. And we have worked like since 1 year, I think, in NFTs. This is something really new right now, but there are many legal aspects involved. We, even in the video game, film industry, and music industry, we have also some clients in this industry, like the Motion Picture Association and the Entertainment Software Associations. But I'm happy to share today with you all the things that I consider are important about the legal aspects of NFTs.
I would assume by their very nature that an NFT has to be an international thing, because you could have someone on the other side of the world looking at your NFT or doing whatever with it as well, just as much as you can have here. Mariana, is it like a thing? Is it like an international thing with the litigation with these NFTs?
I think a lot of the work that we do, that I work with Ian pretty closely, and I think a lot of these things are very international, but the litigations will happen in the jurisdiction where last time we talked about a particular case with Miramax and Quentin Tarantino, but there are a lot of other cases that have happened. I don't want to get too far ahead, but we've already been dealing with OpenSea, which is one of the platforms where you can acquire NFTs, and we send a letter on behalf of a client. And so I think they're international by nature, but then it will be decided in the jurisdiction where the issue arises, right? And I thought that was going to make this panel more interesting. We had the perspective from different colleagues from around the world.
Absolutely. Okay.
And Jose is perfect for this.
Okay.
His experience.
No pressure, Jose, but apparently you're perfect, so this should be good. All right, so why don't we just do this? The most basic of basic, and Ian, maybe we'll come to you on this one. What on God's earth is an NFT?
You know, somebody just the other day said to me, everything on the planet Earth will be an NFT but food. I know of an NFT project right now where the state of Rhode Island is turning every home in the state into an NFT. Remember, an NFT is just a token, like Bitcoin, like Ethereum. But one of the things they've done is it's a token with pictures. So imagine that in the state of Rhode Island, they had security issues with home ownership. And you could, with not a lot of work, fraudulently take possession of a home without having to prove yourself in too many ways. By turning each home into an NFT, now to prove that you own this home, there are a number of different things you have to do. So it's a security play for home ownership. That's not an ugly ape. And I say ugly ape because I think the apes are ugly personally. You know, I mean, NFTs are a programmable token that has some kind of visual, it could be video, it could be still pictures, it could be animations, it could be 3D attached to it. And that's what it is. So imagine that you could turn every car on the planet into an NFT. You could turn homes into NFTs as ways to identify and add greater security to ownership. Transfer.
You keep saying token. What's a token?
Bitcoin's a token.
Okay. So, but
Ethereum is a token.
But is that ultimately what is the thing? There's no specific thing, so it's software.
It's ones and zeros.
So it's just code.
Yeah, in this case, it's code with or code plus. Bitcoin is code. This is code plus because, but imagine that if you put a picture of a bored ape on an NFT, what's happened is you've taken that drawing and turned it into code if it wasn't code in the first place, right? So everything is being reduced to code.
Okay, so effectively it's just, it could be a token plus an image or some kind of a visual apparatus associated with it. I get that insofar as, for example, the ugly apes or whatever they're called. How does a home become?
Well, there are other things too. There are rights. Okay, remember I said these tokens are programmable.
Okay.
And one of the things you get with NFTs are you get rights. Like as an example, there's this thing called a whitelist. So if you bought a bored ape, one of the things you got was a whitelist for every follow-on campaign they did. You know, they've got, I think, dog apes now, and I think they have the acid apes, and these are different campaigns. But if you own it, you have the right, a first right of refusal is what a whitelist basically is you get to buy them before they go public. There are 3 stages to selling an NFT generally. There's a pre-sale, a private sale, a pre-sale, and a public sale. And a private sale you might just do to your friends, family, and followers. A pre-sale would be to anybody who was on your whitelist. And then the public sale is anybody that wants to go on an exchange like OpenSea and purchase it.
Got it. Okay. Jose, if I was to say to you, what's an NFT, what would you say?
Well, I share completely what Ian said, but like from the legal perspective, I would like to underline something really important here, and is that the technology, like the blockchain technology, allows to have the authenticity, like, you know, with all the goods and things that are on the internet, sometimes it's really difficult to know who's the owner, yeah? But the great advantage and the big advantage of the NFT is that you can know who owns this property. So from the legal perspective, this is a big advantage because when you are talking about copyright or infringement, sometimes you can know with the NFT who owns the NFT, but it's also really important to differentiate who owns the NFT that who owns the copyright, because sometimes mostly like, and this has been like a big issue right now, that people owns NFT thinking that they can do right now everything with this. But it's like having also like, if you do not assign the copyright, it's like if you buy a painting, a frame or an important picture in your apartment, and you show it, you just only have the property of this picture, but you don't have the property of the copyright. In some cases, there has been people that have also buy the property and also buy the copyright, but the majority of situations, they only own the property. So this is like a big issue right now everywhere. But in summary, the NFT is like something that you can verify authenticity or property with the blockchain, and that you have also that is digital, of course, that it can be used in many industries, like in pictures, like digital art, like in the film industry. There are many examples. In the video game industry, there are also in the music. I will think that those can be some elements of. But I'm sure that there is not like a legal definition of NFT. Is something really new.
Let me see if I put this together. So we have, as Ian said, code plus an image or a video or whatever it is, and then that uses the blockchain to verify the authenticity of the owner of that code. Is that fair so far?
Yes.
Okay, so let me follow with that, Jose. I appreciate everything you're saying in terms of ownership. Where is the value coming from? Because I'm hearing people spending hundreds of thousands of dollars on these things.
So
Isn't it the value? Oh,
let's go one at a time. Or Ian, go ahead.
You got to step back, because the world doesn't work like the world used to. You used to go to a broker and say, I want to buy shares in a company. And you might do some research. You might read about that company, and you might learn about the management team, and you might actually try and understand. And now we're talking a little bit about crypto and the blockchain to get to the NFT thing, but there was a token called Alice token. It was a token for a game. It went on sale for a penny, and within 30 seconds, it was trading at $60. That's a huge and incredible instantaneous return on investment. And the two most important things that drove that rise in value were FOMO and hype. 100%. In fact, Bored Ape Yachts, it's FOMO and hype. Sure, remember that buying equity is always been speculation, and speculation has always kind of been bullshit. I mean, sure, you make an educated guess because this company has a really good track record and they make a really good product and they have a really good management team, but there's no guarantee when you buy shares in anything that you're going to make money. There are all kinds of things that pressure the value. So imagine what happens, okay? So you go to a website, the Bored Ape Yacht website. You say, you attach your wallet, because we're in the digital world, so you have to have a MetaMask wallet to attach to their thing. And you mint your ape. But here's what you don't know. You have no idea what your ape looks like. You have no idea what you're going to get, what attributes you're going to receive, how rare they're going to be. Because in the initial mint, nobody knows what they're getting. What they're guaranteed is there are 10,000 Bored Apes, and some of them will be rarer than others. So you're playing a game. You're speculating, but you're playing a game, because when the reveal happens, that means all the tokens have been minted, and now the reveal happens, and now you find out what you got. And if you got one of the apes that has the golden mohawk that only 0.02% of all the apes have, yours is more valuable But is it worth $500,000? No, it's not worth $500,000. It sold for $600 in its initial minting. 0.2 ETH was what these things were going for. But you say, well, I'm going to put a price on it. And then Hugo Labs goes out and they do really good PR and they do good marketing and they have a rabid Discord channel and there's all kinds of things going on, and they create FOMO, fear of missing out, and that drives value. And then you get, Jimmy Kimmel going on and he says, look at my Bored Ape, man, isn't it great? And Eminem turns around and buys one for $600,000 that was again worth maybe 600. And then everybody says, oh my God, Bored Ape, Eminem has them now and Jimmy Fallon has them now. These things are like crazy. I got to get mine. And it's not, because nobody knows the guys at Hugo Labs. Nobody's ever heard of these guys. They're not people. I mean, you could look them up, you could find out about them, but it's not like Steve Jobs. It's not like Tim Cook. It's not like, a CEO that has a track record. You're not making an investment because they've created product after product like an Apple computer, right? You're responding because there is this thing. Here's what happened. So go back to Alice Token, right? So the CEO went and they got their biggest investors and they said, look, the second this thing launches, I need you to go buy 10 million tokens. There were a penny of tokens, so 10 million tokens is not a huge investment. And what happens is the price goes bang, straight up. And they've done really good marketing. So everybody is like this sitting in front of their computer watching the number. And as the number shoots up, they're like, oh my God, I got to get mine. So now people start buying. And what does that make the number do? It makes the number go up and more people start buying and it goes all the way up to $60. And then everybody who was an original investor, all of the C-level people, they sell a bunch of tokens at $60 because they just did a 6,000x return on their investment. And then the thing goes back down and it ends at $14, which is still a huge increase in value. And I said 6,000, I meant 60,000x. So it ends at 1,400x, which is still a pretty good return on investment.
Let me ask, Mariana, where do you see the value of these things? And by the way, Ian, I want to touch really quickly. I have a sense of these things, which somewhat parallels what you said. I'm going to maintain my opinion for the time being, though. Mariana, what is there value in these things?
I think
and where is it
because
coming?
it's unique, like so there is one. It can be so that's where I think that's the market. It's like the supply and demand, right? So more people want it, and that's what drives the value.
Is there any inherent value to it?
Some of these drawings are very basic drawings. I call them drawing. I would say images, but we have discussions in my office and some say, wow, if I knew when I was little, I drew these dolls very similar to these ones. I didn't realize I could be making all this money. Yeah, but so yeah.
It's the same value in investing in the stock exchange. You don't get a product if you buy shares, you make money. It's speculation.
Yeah, it's a speculation market, the market driving the
Stoner Cats, as an example, which was a limited web series created by Ashton Kutcher and sold by NFTs. To see the 6 episodes of the first season, you had to have an NFT. And they got Chris Rock and they got Jane Fonda and they put together a cast and they did an animated web series called Stoner Cats. How is that any different than any television show you ever watched? The difference is you had to own an NFT to see the show. It's a real show with real actors, just like you watch on Apple TV or HBO or anything.
So the exclusivity, right? I guess, because it's more exclusive. unique.
Well, here's what it really does more than anything else when you're talking about entertainment is it takes away the gatekeepers. Julie Pacino, Al Pacino's daughter, wanted to fund a movie. So she took her cast to the Madonna Inn, which if you know what the Madonna Inn is, it's just this weird hotel in the middle of California. And she shot 3,600 images of her cast with weird lighting, doing weird stuff. And she sold them out in a week, and she raised 3 times the amount of money she needed to fund her project. And all those people got the photo. They also got the right to see the movie when the movie is completed. Plus, what Julie realized was she had built this community around her content. Now the question is, how do you leverage that community into new things? Remember, it used to be you used to turn on the TV, you used to watch a movie. When the movie was done, your relationship with that thing was done. But then Star Wars came around and they built this universe. And remember that movie Rogue One? It was based on 4 minutes out of the first movie. It was a beautiful movie. And how did they tie it off? They killed everybody. So there was no issues about who are these people and where did they go and why aren't they in future movies or anything like that, which was kind of brilliant. But let's say you create NFTs to fund a movie and there's a lesser character in your show that the fans love. And you go to the fans and say, we're going to do an NFT campaign around a new piece of content based on that character. Once you build the community, it's about creating new, interesting ways to engage the community, new NFT campaigns. And it's, again, the people that bought the NFTs that funded Julie's movie, Julie doesn't have to go to a distributor and beg for them to acquire her project. Just to put that on Vimeo and give people a password and bang.
Jose, let me come to you, sir. Where do you see the value of these things?
Well, there are many things to talk about, but to summarize a bit, for NFT that are secrets, NFT like the case of Tarantino that he was selling like unedited scenes of the movie of Pulp Fiction. I think that it's really worthy. For NFTs that are, for example, that is digital artwork and that everybody can take a shot screen to the computer and just have it is sometimes really weird, because it's just like having like the idea to have it like when it's public, it's really like sometimes a nonsense and speculation, like I was saying, like speculation, because it's something that it's the same, it's only to have the property, but in the end everybody can reproduce it. But for secret NFT, I think that it's really important. That would be like the world is completely changing, you know, all this thing of the metaverse, that I completely recommend it to understand the thing about metaverse, watching this movie Ready Player One, to understand a bit what is it. But like owning the things in the metaverse, sometimes most of them are like NFTs, and the world is changing. And right now, when I saw the first time, I was thinking that it was ridiculous to buy something like this, but I don't think that it's a trend. It's the reality right now that we are buying things on this metaverse or in the virtual world. Right now is not like having the painting in your apartment, but having the painting in some metaverse. So that's the idea behind, and there are many philosophical questions about this, on how we are turning as humans as virtual or digital persons. but that, I think that will be like the underlying part of the NFTs.
Let me see if I got this all correct. Ian, you had mentioned people purchase stock, and it's, you know, the stock itself doesn't do anything. It's a piece of paper, effectively, as I understand it, or some computer screen at your TD Ameritrade website says you own something. Okay. However, I think the distinguishing factor is the stock is usually bought in an entity that does do something or produce something. Whereas if someone just owned, like, kind of as what Jose was alluding to, just like a random image, which, as Mariana put it, doesn't even have to be all that robust. I don't know what it is that image does that has any value, and I'm not necessarily seeing it yet, aside from what you said, which is FOMO and speculation. And I could see that world. I see on Instagram people in nightclubs saying which one of like the NFT groups they belong to. That's like a thing now, I guess. I don't know. Oh God, imagine going to a nightclub nowadays. But I also see that NFTs are wider than I originally understood. And I can see value. For example, Jose, you're saying Quentin Tarantino is letting out unedited videos of his, what was it, Pulp Fiction, I think. I think to myself, okay, well, in the past, they could have given out unedited videos, and that would have been expensive. You'd have to pay for that. Now, the unedited video itself is the expense. It's the token, as I think Ian put it. Did I get this correct?
Imagine this. So based on what Jose was saying, so it used to be you would go to Sotheby's, and if you were a rich Russian oligarch, and I'm going to fuck with the Russians for a minute because why the hell not? You bought a Picasso for $60 million and you put that on your yacht and you hung it there, and the only people that ever got to see it were your friends. Well, now they digitized that Picasso, they turn it into a serialized NFT, and they make one of 10,000. So now I buy a digital frame that I hang on my wall, and all of a sudden I have my authenticated version of that Picasso on my wall. And I didn't pay nearly 60 million bucks for it. And sure, it's not the original Picasso, but I wasn't getting invited onto the oligarch's yacht anyway, so I was never going to see that painting. So this metaverse, the digital world as it comes into our real world, all of these things on one level are about affording things to a much wider audience. There's a project called Links DAO. Bunch of guys got together, they created NFTs, they raised 10 million bucks, and they bought a golf course. And your NFT is like your membership badge to your golf course. And they haven't bought it yet. The last I checked, they were taking the money to buy it, but they got a bunch of people together who love golf, who wanted to play golf. They created a DAO. They sold the NFTs. So now everybody who owns an NFT also has decentralized governance authority for this golf course. And that's a really important part of the story, is how these things can work in a DAO. I actually have an NFT campaign that I'm going to be launching in the next 40 days. And part of what you get if you buy one of my NFTs is you get governance authority on my DAO. It's part of the rights that come with the NFT. And my DAO makes movie and television. And you understand what a DAO is, right?
I assume like a Dow Jones or something. I was about to ask.
No, here's what it is. It's a decentralized autonomous organization. Imagine that the SEC's job is to protect the C-suite from the investors, right? Shareholders. In a DAO, there is no C-suite. And all the decision-making for the corporation is done by what are called not shareholders, but token holders. And the way a DAO works is anyone can make a proposal if they have, usually you have to have a certain amount of tokens to make a proposal, like 100 tokens. And then you can make a proposal, and then the entire token holding audience gets to vote on whether that proposal passes. And in this world that we live in today, the people with the most money rule the world. That's how the world works. But in a DAO, you use an algorithm to manage governance in a way that the rich don't control the world. So as an example, on our platform, it looks at 100 different things to determine your governance authority that include what kind of a person you are on the platform. Do you make a lot of negative statements? Do you do post a lot of negative things, or do you post positive things? How much you're engaged on the platform, how much you actually use it to support movies and television shows, how accurate you are. Like if Jose supports 10 movies and they get made, and I support 10 movies and they don't get made, in that sliver of the algorithm, Jose's going to have more authority, governance authority than I am. And then lastly, when it comes to tokens, I have a lot of tokens. I'm one of the founders. I've been doing this thing for 7 years. The amount of tokens that actually affect your governance are capped so that whales don't have an unequal level of authority. So what it's really doing is creating something. I hate this phrase because I can't think of the word, but for the people, by the people. It is decentralized governance. It is about fairness, inclusion, equity, and equality, and the same things that rule the world today don't rule this new world. And NFTs are one of the tools to provide the rights and the power to participate in things.
I see. And Mariana, I'm going to come to you in just a minute on the legal aspect of it, but let me see again if I've gotten this correct. I came into this podcast thinking an NFT is like a JPEG. It's an image, and apparently only one person can have it, even though other people can take screenshots and look at it. But what I'm beginning to get the sense now is that an NFT has less to do with the image. It is, like you said, a token, and it provides the owner privileges and access. It just so happens to be attached to an image. And it seems the privileges and access that the NFT provides is to certain communities, and certain communities are probably valuable to be a part of. I mean, you're telling me you have like celebrities who own these things. And I'm sure certain other communities are less valuable to be part of. To be honest, if you just take, assuming I got this correct, guys, and you guys correct me, but if you take the NFT aspect out of it, it's nothing new. It's people who have access to something working within a community who has access to the same thing. It's just now we're doing it with digital tokens rather than money or I don't know, voting influence or stocks or something like that. Am I getting to where this is going?
Well, remember we talked about the Bored Apes.
Yeah.
And we talked about the rates and the traits and the rarities. So some Bored apes have their mouth is open. And some Bored apes, their mouth is closed. And some Bored apes have an earring, and some are wearing a golden prom dress. And there are actually probably 150 traits and rarities. And some of them, like 60% of the Bored apes all have this one thing, where 0.02% of the Bored apes have it. So there's rarities and traits that create gamification.
Yeah.
And the reveal. So what you're doing is you're taking something that is more traditional, like you described, and you're marrying it into a speculative game, and you're applying it into a place where it creates fairness. Because you could be Elon Musk, and I could still, for the same $600, get something worth 100 times more than what you get, because of the roll of the dice.
Is it a roll of the dice, or is there someone who chooses who gets what?
No, it's all done randomly by random algorithm. There is absolutely, you could say as an example. So like I said, I have an NFT campaign that's around planets, and the planets have rarities, and the rarity categories are things like space monsters and, planetary defense systems. And if I want to, I can say that every NFT gets a space monster, but I can't determine which NFT gets what space monster, because I get laughed out of the room on Discord if it's not randomly generated. That's the whole thing, is that the speculation is gamified.
Interesting. It's
But
like
the rights that are attributed to the NFTs are the same for all NFTs in that class.
It feels like they took these video games that I play online, and these video games have like a gambling aspect to it, which is you purchase a loot crate, and then the loot crate falls and you don't know what you're going to get necessarily, and it's supposed to be randomized. It almost sounds like they took that and they mixed it with stocks, and they said, hey, it's 2022, mush this together, and now you have this thing. It's very interesting. By the way, this is very enlightening for me. I came into this thing not knowing what the hell a token is, and now I can appreciate why an NFT is a token and thereby has value. So thank you, guys. Mariana, let me come to you here. I know we already discussed the legalese of this before, but let's discuss it again, especially now that we have a panel. Legally speaking, what's going on and where do you see it going?
Thank you for asking me that question. I have no idea where it's going, because it could go anywhere. I think I wanted Ian to be part of this panel, and I'm really glad that you are, because today he was mentioning something I didn't even know about, that you could use an NFT to identify ownership of a property. From the legal point of view, this authenticity, and Jose brought it up, I think it's very interesting, because we want to make sure who owns what and why. As far as the litigations, after we had that podcast, there were several cases that had been filed in district court. None of these cases have advanced much, because it's only been a few months. But I don't think it's only an image that you can find on an NFT. I think that you could find the script, as Jose mentioned the case of Quentin Tarantino, or music. And Jose is a musician also, not only an IP expert, but he's also a musician. So I guess that's why music came to mind, but you could find all sort of things in the NFTs. I don't understand, Ian, how it would work with the properties. Is it the deed of the property, or is it yeah, I see.
Whatever's unique, right? So think about a property. Well, first of all, you could take pictures of the property and make that a part of the NFT, and those are unique because,
yeah. Then
you add the deed, the address, the
anything that's unique.
A number that tells on an access.
Oh, on what street? Yes.
All of these things are part of what makes the unique NFT for the home. And you have to, and you can build in security. You have to prove in 12 ways that you actually own this property before you can get a property transfer, or 4 ways or something like that. And it's just a way of a different way of identifying
something.
Yeah. Sure.
Yeah.
And it could totally be words. It could totally be music.
It could be anything. That's what I wanted to clarify that. And Dan, I don't know a lot more than you do, but from the legal point of view, and we work with a lot of creatives, and I'm fascinated by this topic because it's the future. Everybody is interested in this metaverse because there is not as many rules. Nobody likes rules, but there's gonna, in my opinion, I could be wrong. I think that eventually there will be some regulations and some rules, and that's why all these cases are coming and being filed in court, because there's gonna have to be what can be done, what I cannot do. And I guess I'm a trademark copyright lawyer. From the trademark point of view, there is a case that was filed earlier this year. Hermes, the handbag store, they have a very iconic handbag. We pay lots of money to have one of those in the real world. And of course, it's protected under trade dress and many other intellectual property rights. And there is a younger creative artist, and I think he's very creative. He used that trade dress without authorization. The case is ongoing. It was filed in our circuit in the Central District, and I'll be curious to see what happens with this, because you have ownership of the rights in the real world, and then what happens in the virtual world, let's just say, in the NFT.
And remember,
So-
serialization is a thing in NFTs. Adidas did a campaign, one NFT, 30,000 versions of it. The only thing that was different was the number of the NFT. So 1 through 30,000, the exact same NFT, no uniqueness whatsoever, except that serialization number, like a numbered lithograph, which has existed forever. You know, I mean, so difference is not, it can be very small and it can be very broad.
Yeah, I saw, and Jose, we'll come to you on the legal again in just a minute, but I saw a Instagram video from my friend in Florida during Art Basel, whatever it's called. And that was very NFT centric, what was going on there, at least what I saw on social media. She took a video of, I don't remember what it was, but it was an NFT, like animated image, GIF, video, I don't know. But she took a video of it. It was up against a wall and it was a digital frame. And I gotta say, this digital frame was impressive. The screen was extremely bright and colorful. You know, when you see like these nice, expensive televisions, the digital frame looked like a nice, expensive television, just giving me an idea of the future of where things are going. Not only do you have to buy an NFT, you have to buy a nice frame, right? Just like the paintings. As much as things change, they stay the same. So we have a very nice digital portrait thing, which is very bright LCD, and it had this almost 3D-like thing in it. I could see a rich person or not rich person having a hallway rather than having a bunch of actual Picassos, having a bunch of these very pretty, very vibrant, very bright images. I love images on screens. I know that's a weird thing to say. I follow Samsung, I follow LG and these high quality screens they make. So if you're telling me they're a very vibrant, high resolution, you know, HDR, Dolby Digital Vision, all these other crazy things, 4K, you know, all the stuff that we have in the visual world, if you can turn that into a beautiful image that I exclusively have access to, and that image not only indicates that I'm part of a particular community, but gives me access to things within that community, I'm beginning to see, you know, why would I just have like a portrait of the beach when I could have a digital image that does X, Y, and Z? Jose, let me ask you, legally speaking, where do you see this all going?
Yeah, I think that NFTs are here to stay because the digitization, this phenomenon in which right now we're turning to digital. And actually, you see all the trademark applications, not only before the United States Trademark Office, but also all the trademark office everywhere here in Colombia as well. If you see all the trademarks that are filed in the classes that are in the digital world or Metaverse, for example, Nike, you see the last applications filed by Nike, they want to protect their shoes on all the video games or all the possibilities in which their shoes can appear. So as Mariana was saying, right now it will be really interesting what will gonna happen with the Hermes case, with the Meta Birkins, these bags, because if the judge, I guess that the judge in the end will, if they don't settle, I think that they will have a punishment, condemn, a judgment against the infringer, because right now we will not have this excuse of saying no, I put it in the digital world, so because I put it in the digital environment, it's not an infringement. Right now the world is like unified as well, through Metaverse, and it's like the same as it has happened before. For example, in The Simpsons, you know, this Dove beer, the one that they were drinking, the Dove beer, in The Simpsons, there were people that they were, this is owned by Fox, it was owned by Fox, this is protected by copyright, but there were some people that released the beer, and they were in the physical world, they were selling this beer, and they thought that because it was in the TV only, they were not going to infringe, and in the end, some judgments were contrary to this infringement, and they were saying yes, they are infringement the copyright of Fox by this beer. So right now through the metaverse and the NFT will gonna be the same, and there will gonna be also trademark protection, copyright protection. So I think that the NFTs are here to stay, and they're gonna be interesting judgments that will favor the NFT owners or the copyright owners of these NFTs.
Let's talk about this metaverse, because this has come up a couple of times now and we haven't touched upon it directly. So you have someone who has, like I said, maybe an image on a wall. Okay, fantastic, in their home, great. But like we said, and as I understand it, I heard some staggering statistics about how much time young people spend in the digital world, whether it's social media on their phone or on their computer, to the point where a lot of their social engagements are digital. Like they're talking over Discord, they're talking over text message, they're talking over Snapchat or whatever it might be. And I just got one of these, what are the virtual reality headsets. I got it just for fun. I barely used it, but I could ultimately understand that, let's say Meta World has some product I can go into there using it. Maybe I want to buy a video game for my virtual reality. I got to go down the Meta World place and go to the virtual reality video game shop in the virtual reality world and purchase it. And someone pointed out to me, look, your NFT could be your avatar in that world. And you could be literally the only person who has that avatar. And I appreciate that. Guys, correct me if I'm wrong, but here's my question. If we're going to have avatars in the meta world, isn't there going to be something way cooler than like just a still image a long time from now that you would want more than just a still image? I don't know. You guys let me know what you think.
Yes.
Go total Orwellian here for a moment. So I want to say that the Dali Lama is part of this project called 2049. And the idea of this project is that in the future, there will be organic humans and there will be virtual humans. After you die, the idea is that you will continue to live in a virtual world. In Ready Player One, they went to school in their virtual metaverse. They played games in their virtual metaverse. You have a pandemic that just happened that caused everybody to stay in their homes. And if you were staying in your homes, then what a great thing to be able to live your world outside. And, an Oculus headset is no different than a freaking, beautiful 5K TV. It's kind of the same thing, I mean, who knows where all this is going to go? One of the things we didn't even talk about was securities law. So NFT stands for non-fungible token, right? And the SEC is right now considering when is an NFT a security. There's a famous case, Beeple, who made a piece of art every day for 10,000 days and then turned it into one big NFT and sold it for like $64.5 million. And the guy who bought it wants to break it up into all the individual pieces and sell them. And that's kind of the definition of a security. When you change something for its sale. So the SEC will have guidance in maybe 3-4 years about when an NFT is a security and when an NFT isn't a security. And I'm with Jose. I think that, trademark should apply in the virtual world like it does in the real world. If you're an artist and you create something, you should own the rights to it everywhere. And, but then again, you got TikTok, which people are making millions of dollars off of 3-minute selfies, and they call it entertainment. I'm just saying, when did that become entertainment? Well, it turns out it became entertainment, and people are monetizing it and making lots of money off of it, off of stuff that I don't think it's entertainment. I don't even think it's close to entertainment. But remember when you were a kid and you had that piece of music and your dad said, that's not music. Well, here we are. Yeah. Right? The people who remember life before the metaverse are going to say the metaverse is this weird thing. The people that grow up in the metaverse are going to think it's the real world.
Yeah. Jose, did you have something to say? I thought you had something.
Oh yes, it was that very similar to what Ian just was saying regarding the fact that art and all these things sometimes are really subjective, and like music that sometimes, for example, I personally don't like reggaeton, but it can be the genre that sells more, at least in Latin America. And maybe the artists, they did never study music. I'm not a musician, but I'm empiric. But sometimes these musicians never study any music, but they are like earning lots of millions. But this is art sometimes, and the metaverse sometimes may think like this, may sounds like this, but in the end, this is really subjective and is speculation sometimes, as I was saying. For example, there is an artist, an Italian artist called, well, you can Google it. His name is Salvatore Garau. He sold by auction an invisible sculpture, saying that this this was an invisible sculpture, that saying that he was selling an empty space that transmit a lot of energy. That was like the thing that he was saying just to sell it, and the people actually bought by 15,000 euros. This only an empty space. It is not a sculpture as we think, but sometimes the art is subjective, and sometimes there are things that we think that it's silly to buy this, but in the end, sometimes it's speculation, I guess. But sometimes it has many advantages, like authenticity. For example, talking about the metaverse, there was a person that I met recently, and he was asking me what thing would you consider it would be worthy in the metaverse. And I was telling him the one of the best services in the metaverse will be like a notary. When you go to the notary to say that to sign a paper, and so the notary can attest or certify that you are the person that is there. It will be great to do this thing in the metaverse, that you can have by blockchain technology, that you are the one that is signing, or the power of attorney or something, or some document, instead of going outside your house and doing a big line. That will be and have your avatar as well. That will be your exclusive avatar. That will be great if it is created like a metaverse notary, public notary. That will be some issues about
we're all going to get really pale.
Yeah, and I have to say, I know that there is so many things that we'll continue to learn and see, but I don't know or understand much about the minting process. And I know that you mentioned that, Ian. There is a lot of things on the technical side that I don't understand. But NFTs is here to stay. A lot of international companies have chief of the metaverse, I believe. Like there is a lot of, now you have the CEO, CFO, and the chief of the metaverse. So I don't think that's a question. I think we're all agreeing that this is, but we don't know what will happen next for sure.
I think all of you should check out 2045.com.
That's the thing you were telling us, where they're trying to combine
with the Dali Lama.
Yes, exactly. That's exactly right. With the Dalai Lama, it is a progression to a hologram-like avatar of a human being, and that's your total existence. And they're working on it. You know, I mean, what was the movie Johnny Mnemonic?
Yeah.
You know, I'm just saying the idea that we could exist in a virtual world, the Matrix, of course, being another example, but those were actually organic beings plugged into a metaverse permanently. But the question is can you take your brain function and digitize it and give you life outside of an organic structure?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Who
Wow.
knows? You know, I mean, what's the Ray Kurzweil thing? The oh freak.
I am gonna check out the movie also, Ready Player One.
Yeah, it's
I will
great.
check it out.
It's great. So Ray Kurzweil is the guy who coined oh, I'm sorry. You know, these days, if you're me and it didn't happen 48 hours ago, you've already forgotten about it. So he coined the phrase the singularity. The idea behind the singularity is that every year computer processing power doubles, and that around 2035 or so, computers will be as fast as the human brain. And then the next year, they'll be twice as fast. And then the next year, and that computers will actually, through massive processing power, and you know, I'd also read about quantum processing and some of the advances that they're having with that, we'll be able to solve these problems. The organic body, you could make a very compelling argument, is flawed. And transhumanism has existed since the first person got an, got some kind of a, an arm replacement or a leg replacement or something like that. And we're going to continue right now, Apple Watch. Your Apple Watch is like this computer that interacts with your body and gives you data. And there's patches you can put on your body that give you data. And, we're going to continue to experiment and build machines that optimize life. There's also the extension of life. I watched a TED Talk not too long ago that said there's somebody on the planet Earth today that's going to live to be 1,000 years old. And the thing is, you don't have to go from 0 to 1,000. All we have to do is get, somebody to live an extra 50 years to 150, and then 200 years, and then 250, through life extension, 3D printing new organs, new skin, all kinds of weird things. We're on a kind of at a watershed moment as far as life extension goes.
Yeah, I wonder if we're the generation they're going to look back on and say, oh, those poor people, look how bad they had it. Or if they're going to look back on us and say, oh, those lucky people, it was so much better back then. Everything went to, everything went down the toilet over the next couple of years. I think the conversation is gotten a little broader. There is, and it might be the same author that you mentioned, Ian. There's a guy I know who said at a certain point, humans and machines are just going to be one and the same. We get to a certain place where we just plug our brains into a machine and that does it. And like you said, human body has issues, it ages, it doesn't have replaceable parts usually. And these are the kinds of things that being a machine, or at least your consciousness being within a machine, could solve. I mean, that's obviously way down the line. We've been going over an hour. So just to wrap this up, if anyone has, and we'll start with you, Jose, in terms of just some final thoughts. What would you keep your eye on in the future? What aspect of NFT is interesting you? Is there a particular case that you want to hear about? Go ahead and give us your closing.
Yes, for a closing argument, I will say that we will never have to forget that the copyright protection will be only for humans, because there are some also theories saying that machines can have also copyrights. I don't share this, and I think that copyright will always be protection only for humans, because there are big discussions on artificial intelligence as well, that we can create somehow sui generis protection for this, but I think that will be not turning our main focus of humans, because these are all these novels of cyberpunk, that is the genre about the machines going against humans. I think that this is not just a movie, and this is going to happen, I think, in some points. So we have to, in the regulation aspect, in the legal point aspect, we have to focus on the humanity, and maybe not sometimes thinking only in money, but also in protecting humanity. And so that will be like a closing. There are many other topics, but for time concerns, maybe we can organize other day, but this will be like the final idea that I will have to underline.
We should do a panel on the Terminator 2 movie and be like, how many lawsuits before Arnold Schwarzenegger comes after me from the future or something like that. That's just reminding me of, and you say, look, we have to take the humanity into consideration. We can all speculate on what sci-fi things come in the future. We don't know, but I appreciate that you said that, because if it was just all about the money, sometimes there are unintended consequences for these things. And when we're talking about plugging humans into a virtual world from an organic analog world that we originally came from, yeah, unintended consequences may be a thing. Mariana, what do you think? What's your final thoughts?
Well, I hope that I continue to learn a lot of these things. And, you know, I don't know if you guys remembered about Second Life, but there were some issues, and that's why it didn't go the way we all thought it would go. So then I'm very, very curious about the metaverse and how things will progress. These litigations, of course, because they deal with issues that concerned us as IP experts. But I wanted to share the link in the chat, because this concept of decentralizing and giving opportunities to individuals that may not have the funds but are very creative. So I work a lot in the entertainment industry, and it's great. You know, some producers have the money, and entities have the money to do certain films, but it's good also to have the opportunity for creative artists to get their work done. You know, at the end of the day, I'm not in movie production, but I think movies tell a story and send a powerful message to the audiences. So yeah, I'm proud that I've been able to collaborate with Ian and his team. So there is the link if there is any creative artists out there. Yeah.
Ian, what about you? What is your closing thoughts on this?
Okay, so I'll bring it back around to NFTs because that's why we started here. But first, I'm going to say, watch Bicentennial Man, because that was about a robot becoming human. And that was a very interesting take on the whole idea of evolution. To parrot a little bit what Mariana just said, I was having an argument with somebody the other day, and they were saying, do you really want decentralized finance? And my response was, so how's centralized finance for the last 200 years working for you? We had 44 million Americans out of work, and two guys quadrupled their personal wealth to over $200 billion each. This is the system we want to live in. I am a champion and a proponent of a decentralized world where there is fairness and equity and opportunity for everybody. And NFTs, one of the greatest strengths of NFTs are to take the gatekeepers out of the situation. You know, agents control everything, where you don't need agents anymore. You don't need you know, you don't need studios or distribution outlets to get your product out to the world. Alternatively, I think if you want to make a movie and you go to sell NFTs for that movie and you raise 3 times the amount of money you needed to make the movie, you shouldn't get to keep what you didn't need. There's going to be a lot of manipulation. Yeah. And a lot of BS in the world around NFTs also. Plus, you know, if we haven't learned yet, you make something digital and there's somebody out there smarter who can hack the crap out of it. And there's been millions of dollars of NFTs stolen. And it's, you know, so again, we're a messy world. We've always been a messy world. We're just going to now be a messy world in the digital world. But I think NFTs could have the ability to make the world a more equal and fairer place by removing the need for gatekeepers. And that's why I exist on, you know, that's why we're building this company, because everybody anywhere in the world with an idea should have the same access to the same tools to try and bring that idea to life. And right now, the entertainment world is basically controlled by 50 people.
Yeah, it's not as simple. But I have to tell you, I have to say this to everyone, to explain all these things to a judge, it's going to be very fun. Because it's really difficult for some of us that are more junior. So, yeah.
That's why the SEC is years away from figuring it. They can't even figure out how to get people to pay taxes on crypto in Coinbase today. They're struggling with that. NFTs are like a whole,
It's a whole new world.
And here's a really important thing to remember. So in 2019, there was $19.5 million in NFT sales. And this year, there's going to be $500 billion in NFT sales. 4 years to go from 19 million to 500 billion.
Wow. Well, that is something. It's so much.
For a mic drop.
Look, it gives me even some FOMO. I'm like, geez, should I just go buy an NFT? I'm going to make an NFT rather than calling it ugly gorillas or ugly apes. We'll call it ugly lawyer. And it'll just be me. And maybe you get me with my ear pierced. Maybe you get me bald. Maybe you get me with law books in the background. Who knows? It's going to be.
You should. You really should, Dan.
Here's an important thing to remember, though. Most NFTs don't make any money because it turns out it's not just about making NFTs. It's about how well you market the NFTs. It's still a marketer's world.
Yeah. I just got to get myself on late night television, put my ugly lawyer NFT.
You have to learn to use Discord.
Okay, I can hop on Discord. I've used it. I know what's
Discord is the #1 social media platform for NFTs. Discord
Really?
and Twitter.
Really? Discord is a voice application. Those people are all talking to each other?
No, it's mostly chat.
Okay, so they're chatting. I know it has a chat as well, but
yeah.
That is Clubhouse.
Was that Jose?
No, that the app that people are talking to each other, I guess is Clubhouse.
Yeah.
Clubhouse, yeah.
That's Clubhouse.
Yeah.
But they said in the beginning that it was gonna be like the trendy one, but I guess it was a failure.
Fizzled pretty hard.
Well, of course it was going to, because all the big players came out with their, Facebook has their own Clubhouse feature, Twitter has their own Clubhouse feature. Again, the metric for social media is audience. If you have 2 billion users on your platform, I mean, I always love saying this. I love Apple. I'm an Apple fanboy, but Apple is absolutely positively one of the companies that looks at what apps are successful on its platform and then just builds a better version into their stuff and gives it to you for free.
Yeah, that's a big part of this. And I appreciate, Ian, that you point out a bit of a populist aspect of this decentralized control. I mean, all these things mixed together and going into the future, my brain just becomes overwhelmed with the potentialities. Clearly, it's not necessarily a straight shot. Remember in the 90s, things were I think before the internet, things were just much simpler. And then the internet came and things got way more complicated. But, that is what it is. And
complicated for us lawyers. Maybe for some people, life is, yeah.
Yeah. So look, I really appreciate that you guys came on here, really quenching my curiosity. And I'm sure that people who are watching, we learned what an NFT is. I got a sense that it's not just the image, it's the code behind it, which can signify things. It could, specify who you are, security features, gives you access to like clubs and voting, et cetera, et cetera. And there's a FOMO, there's a speculation, there's a gamification. As I said earlier, it reminded me somewhat of video games. This is so interesting. I have developed a much more robust appreciation for what an NFT is. I'm actually going to see my trainer tomorrow. He owns an NFT and I can't wait to have the conversation with him. I think he has one of the Godzilla ones or something like that. They're probably not even Godzilla. It's like a dinosaur or something, whatever it is. So I appreciate you guys coming on today. We should consider doing this again and maybe just having an ongoing series about NFTs because I am genuinely curious. I appreciate all of you guys coming today and spending over an hour talking to us. Thank you so much. Thank you. I'll end the recording now. All right, guys, and everyone watching, thank you so much. We appreciate it. I'll have everyone who was on the podcast in the comments below. If you want to check out their website, I know some links have been posted here in the chat as well. I'll post those in the section below the video as well. Guys, thank you so much for tuning in. Have a great rest of your day.